Welcome, everyone. This course sets the foundation for teaching environmental issues in a way that is meaningful and engaging for you students. We'll examine the biggest global problems, but more importantly, we'll focus on what you in your classroom can do about them. You're not just delivering facts, you are empowering change. Global environmental problems. Our planet is the most dynamic system. All living beings and natural resources on it are interconnected. In recent decades, we have witnessed major changes in the environment. Humanity has created a civilization that allows it to live a comfortable life, but unfortunately at the expense of nature. Imagine the world through the eyes of our future generations. Will they live in a clean and healthy environment, or will they struggle with polluted air, submerged cities, and depleted natural resources? Today, more than ever, global environmental problems define our reality. Climate change, pollution, and the overuse of natural resources. We are already feeling their effects, aren't we? But how did we get here? What is the first image that comes to mind when you think of global environmental problem? Stop for a moment. Imagine your city, your favorite place in nature. Now imagine what it would look like if human influence continued unchecked. Do you see thick smoke covering the sky, oceans filled with plastic waste, dried up rivers, and lifeless fields? Let's look at the biggest challenges we face today. Major global environmental problems. Imagine traveling through time, 50 years into the future. What will the world look like if we change nothing? Will cities be surrounded by smog? Will humanity struggle with the shortage of clean water? Or perhaps the nature we know today will exist only in old photographs. Today, five major global issues have the greatest impact on our planet. Climate change. Temperatures are rising, ice is melting, and weather patterns are becoming increasingly extreme. Air and water pollution. Millions of people breathe toxic air and drink unsafe water every day. Overuse of natural resources. Forests are disappearing, water supplies are shrinking, and land is becoming infertile. Loss of biodiversity. More and more animal and plant species are disappearing forever. Waste and uncontrolled consumption. Millions of tons of plastic end up in the ocean, and many of the resources we consume are not renewable. What environmental problem worries you the most? Now imagine that you have to choose. Which of these problems worries you the most? Climate change, which brings extreme heat and flooding, or perhaps air and water pollution, which already affect the health of millions of people? Or is it the over-exploitation of natural resources, as forests disappear and the land becomes barren? Or the loss of biodiversity, species disappearing every day? Or do you think the biggest problem is waste and uncontrolled consumption? Millions of tons of plastic that end up in the oceans every year. Each of these problems is equally important and interconnected, but it is good to think about what can we do to reduce their impact. Imagine that Earth is your home. It's cold outside, but your windows are tightly closed, and it's pleasantly warm inside. But what if you start adding extra layers to the roof, thick curtains to the windows, and blocking every air vent? At first you'll feel even warmer, but over time the heat will become stifling. This is actually what is happening to our planet, the greenhouse effect. The sun sends energy to the earth. Some of it stays and some is reflected back into space. But because of human activities, more and more greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide and methane, are trapping heat, causing global warming. But climate change is not just numbers on a graph. Its effects are already being felt around the world. Look at this map. The red dots show massive fires in Australia and California. The blue areas, floods that have devastated communities in Europe and Asia. And in the yellow regions, people are struggling with extreme droughts, which are destroying crops and reducing water availability. Now, imagine a scene where huge glaciers break up and fall into the ocean. That's exactly what's happening in the Arctic. Ice that was stable for centuries is now disappearing. This not only raises sea levels, but also changes the climate of the entire world. From this we can conclude that climate change is no longer the future, it is the present. But the most important question is, will we do anything to slow it down? Imagine a world without tigers in the wild, without bees pollinating flowers, without polar bears walking on ice. How different would our planet look? Could nature function without these key species? Biodiversity: the variety of plants, animals, and microorganisms is what sustains life on Earth, but this balance is breaking down. More than 1 million species face extinction in the coming decades. Look at these three species. Each one is a symbol of the biodiversity crisis. The tiger, once the proud ruler of the jungles, only 3,900 tigers remain in the wild today. Deforestation, poaching, and habitat loss have pushed them to the brink of extinction. The polar bear. When the ice disappears, so does its home. Global warming is melting Arctic ice, leaving this majestic predator without hunting grounds. Bees, though small, their role is immense. Without bees, we would lose a large portion of the food we consume. The use of pesticides, pollution, and climate change are drastically reducing their population. But this isn't a problem that only happens in remote places. Biodiversity is threatened on every continent. Take a look at this map. Red zones, the most critical endangered areas. The Amazon rainforest destroyed by logging and exploitation. Southeast Asia, home to the last wild tigers. The Arctic, an area melting at an alarming rate. Yellow zones, areas with endangered species that can be saved. Central Africa, where gorillas are fighting for survival. Coral reefs which are fading due to ocean acidification. Imagine if we don't take action. We will lose more than just the beauty of nature. We will lose ecosystems that sustain life. But there is still hope. By protecting forests, regulating hunting, and changing our habits, we can help. The question is, will we do it in time? But we must for the common good of all. Imagine this: every second, thousands of tons of waste are generated in the world. 1.3 tons of waste each person creates an average. 400 years, plastic remains in nature. 9% is recycled. That's all there is to plastic in the world. But have you ever wondered where it all ends up? These charts give you a clear picture, but the biggest problem isn't just the quantity, it's how this waste affects our planet. Instead of throw away, think, reduce, reuse, recycle. Did you know that a plastic bag can remain in nature for up to 500 years? Bottles, on the other hand, take more than 450 years to decompose. But despite this, over 8 million tons of plastic end up in the oceans every year. What can we do? Reducing plastic, public transport, awareness among students, environmental actions. Small steps lead to big changes. And this is not just a slogan, it's a proven truth. We don't need to wait for massive reforms or large-scale interventions. Each one of us, whether teacher, student, or parent, can make choices every day that contribute to a healthier planet. turning off a light, planting a tree, reusing a notebook, or simply sparking a conversation about sustainability. It all adds up. And when schools act together, the ripple effect becomes powerful. So let's encourage our students to believe that they can make a difference, because they already are. And let's commit, as educators, to planting the seeds of change, one small step at a time.